I ain't the kind to wear a tie. Button up from 9 to 5. I tried that life but said goodbye. I'm not always polite, but I get the job done. Who says the world can never be fun? I'm simply unprofessional. Simply unprofessional. Yeah. Unprofessional. Yeah. Unprofessional.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Simply Unprofessional. I'm your host, Webby. Joining me today, we got Rob.
Hey, everybody. I'm Rob. As you should know, hopefully.
So, Rob might sound a little different to everybody because
Listen,
he's, well, two things. He's in a new recording area,
well, yeah, there's that. I heard that what you were normally going to go with.
and he got stupid drunk yesterday and got hungover today.
A little bit.
So Rob has now moved in with me.
Yep.
And we are in the same area. He's currently in his room with his door closed, so we don't get too much overlap / echo from each other when we record things.
Yep.
But just the other day, we watched pretty much all of the Winx Saga, Fate, the Winx Saga on Netflix.
Yes. Mostly because neither of us knew it was only 6 episodes.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Immediately while we were watching it, the headmistress of the school looked very familiar, so I had to look her up. I could not place where I knew her from. I looked her up on IMDb. Her name is Eve Best, if I remember correctly, or Evie Best. I'm not sure how she pronounces it.
I think this is Eve.
But I recognized her when I went through her IMDb from the show Nurse Jackie, also on Netflix, which was a pretty good show. Rob also thought she looked familiar, but knows her from nothing on her IMDb.
Yeah, I don't guess she has some of those faces, but she looks very familiar. But no, never seen her in any of the things that are listed, so.
Oh, I see what you're talking about on IMDb, how some of them are listed as 6 episodes and some of them are listed for 14.
Yeah.
I had to sneeze. Oh, I muted Discord, but I didn't mute OBS, which was the recording one that I should have muted when I sneezed. Well, that sneeze is on there now. Oh well, I'm not editing it out. Anyway,
I didn't have to hear it.
So, I did not realize that this show was a graphic novel.
I did.
But you haven't read it, or you know very little about it?
Yes.
Okay. So, having watched the show, what are your...
actually, I thought it was a comic, but apparently it was a cartoon on Nickelodeon. Not a comic, a Nickelodeon cartoon. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, apparently they said there was a graphic novel as well.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe it was originally a graphic novel, and then they made it into a Nickelodeon cartoon. And now this.
Oh, all right. And Matilda in the background.
Yep, she's crying because she wants my pizza. Here. I'm eating cold pizza to try to get over this hangover, because that's what works, right? I don't know.
Hair of the dog. Do you want me to make you another drink?
No.
No. So, going into this, what did you think about some of these characters and just the overall, I guess, show overall?
The show overall, I liked it. It was pretty interesting. I mean, I liked most of the characters too. They all played their parts well. Like you, I know you mentioned like it's a roller coaster of who you hate and then who you don't hate.
Yeah. Okay. So they're all a bunch of bitches at one point or another. Like, I hated them, and then I'm like, oh, so they're the good guy. And then, oh, wait, so no, they're back to being the fucking evil bastard person. Or no, now they're back to being a good guy. And I had such a hard time following it.
Mm-hmm.
I was, story-wise, I was, it was good writing because they brought you on that journey as far as I'm concerned, where they
Mm-hmm.
kept you on your toes as to who actually was lying and evil or had ill intentions, I'll say. But at the same time, it was just, to me as a viewer, it was infuriating. I don't necessarily need to know who who the bad people are right off the bat, but I don't like being pulled in one direction, then another, and then another, and then another, back and forth either. You know.
Mm-hmm.
My only static opinion throughout the whole show was that Bloom, who is presumably the main character,
Yep.
was the hot redhead, and everyone should side with her. Yes, I have bias on this matter. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the show, Rob? There are a bunch of fairies. I know that.
Yeah. There are a bunch of fairies.
Like magical fairies, people. Okay? I don't want to get yelled at. People already think that I hate Asian people. Okay? I'm getting hate mail and threatening letters.
What?
It's terrible. Okay? I'm not a racist, people. Okay? I love everybody. My brain stops working at certain points, and I say people speak anime because I've been watching a lot of anime. Okay?
Who's sending you threatening letters?
Don't worry about it. I've dealt with it.
Was it Kurt?
No. It wasn't Kurt, but I've dealt with it. Let's just say our yard is a little bit bigger and a little bit deeper now. Okay?
Okay, then.
So yeah, fairies. Let's get back to fairies.
Fairies. So yeah, basically it's like a school. The whole thing is centered around a school for fairies. Well, I'm not going into too many details, but it's a school for fairies and for specialists, which are basically like combat people. I don't know if they're fairies too. Like, they didn't really go into that.
Well, they didn't show that they had any type of magical aptitude.
Like that's how I knew there was a cartoon. And in the cartoon, like Sky and stuff are also fairies, but they don't have any magic in the TV show. I don't know if they had magic in the cartoon, but it's like, so I don't know if they're supposed to still be fairies, but they just don't have magic. I don't know. But anyway, so some of the fairies have magic, and some don't, I guess. But the ones that have magic are like training to use the magic, and the ones that don't are training to fight, basically, with like swords and stuff and hand-to-hand combat and all that kind of stuff. They're called specialists. So there seems to only be 3 teachers at this entire school, full of like a ton of teenagers. There's the head mistress, who is Miss Dowling. Her first name's Farah, which we were like, oh, it's Farah, but she spells it differently than the Overwatch Farah. She spells it with an F. And then there's Mr. Silva, who is the head of like the combat training. And then there's Professor Harvey, who is one of the girls and 2 of the students' fathers, who is like chemistry and botany. Yeah. So yeah, they only ever show those 3 teachers. If there are more teachers, I don't know. But every class is one of those 3. Is what it seems. So there's Bloom, who was found in the human world, which they call it the first world. The headmistress tells her that she's from a long dormant fairy bloodline. But later, like very quickly, you find out that that's not true, because the other students are like, no way. Like, you wouldn't have this much magic if you were from a long dormant bloodline. So then they find out later that she's a changeling, which is just what it means is that a fairy parent took the human baby and replaced it with their own, a fairy baby. So that's what a changeling is, and that's what she is. So her parents' baby their real child actually died because it had a heart defect, and someone replaced her in the crib, so they never knew. So then, and she has fire power. So each of the fairies kind of has like an element. So then the first other fairy you meet is Stella, who is actually the princess of the land. She's the queen's daughter, which you don't find out till a little later.
She's a bitch.
But she's kind of a bitch, and she's a bitch. But she has magic over light, so she can blind people. She can turn invisible. Like, she can do all sorts of different things with light. There's Aisha, who is Bloom's roommate.
Oh, you just cut out in Discord.
Sarah,
You just cut out in Discord.
You're cutting out too now.
Yeah, your face.
But you're repeating things on Discord and mine. You just said that twice. Oh, you just cut out in Discord. Oh, you just cut out in Discord. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. Aisha is her roommate who can control water. I don't know if you got that. Then they have a suite, so there's 5 of them, but Aisha is her direct roommate. And then there's Tara and Musa, who are on the other side, and the princess has her own room. But Tara is an earth fairy. She can control plants and stuff like that. And Musa is a mind fairy. She's mostly an empath. She can read emotions. And then some of the other students that end up being important are Sky, who is he's the teacher, Mr. Silva, who's the combat guy. He's basically his adopted son because his father died. He's one of the combat guys, and then his best friend.
Oh yeah, moving forward, spoiler alerts for anybody who hasn't seen the show yet. We are going to be talking about the entirety of the show, which includes the end. So, if you haven't seen Fate, the Winx Saga, and if it's something that was going to interest you, go watch it, then listen. If you don't care about spoilers, or if you have no intentions of watching it, listen to us and maybe we'll change your mind. But then you'll go into it knowing what happens.
Yep.
Continue.
Okay. So next is Riven, who is his best friend, who's kind of the class screw up. He's a douchebag through most of it. And then there's Dane, who is a new kid. But all 3 of them are the combat type. They don't have any magic as far as I can tell. And then there's Beatrix, who is an air fairy. She could do like lightning and stuff like that. And I think that's it for like the students who are not part of their dorm that you really get to know. Oh, and Sam, who is Tara's sister or brother. He's also an earth fairy and can like travel through rock and stone, kind of like Shadowcat from the X-Men. And I think that's it for other students. And then the only other adults, there's basically a security force of adults that protect the school. I don't remember.
I see when this cartoon came out.
Oh, Marco. Marco's the head of them, so he's another adult that's in it somewhat. There's Queen Luna, who is Stella's mother. You see her a couple times. And then there's Bloom Human.
A few times. Damn light fairies.
Yeah, she can like manipulate stuff so that you like see different things. Um,
And Rosalind. I don't know if you said her yet.
I didn't. Yeah, Rosalind, who you don't meet till basically the last episode.
Yep.
And then her Bloom's human parents you see a couple times. I don't really remember their names. I think her mother is Vanessa and Mike. Those are her parents.
So this show.
Oh, and then there's Doris, who's the lunch lady. But I think that's it.
This show, the Fate, the Winx Saga, is a spin-off / I don't know if it's a recreation or what, of the show, the Nickelodeon cartoon that you mentioned earlier, the Winx Club, which aired from late January in 2004 until November of 2009. So it definitely was not in my time period of having watched Nickelodeon cartoons. That's why I knew nothing about any of these except going into the new Netflix show. I will say I'm not a fan of the animation style. Anyway, I had to pop that in. Let's see. Oh, Ariana Grande voiced somebody.
Oh boy.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, so you named off a bunch of the main, well, I wouldn't say main characters, but the other plot characters that we see, along with some of the recurring characters throughout the show. Now, essentially, the whole show, like when we start watching the show, or when you're early on in the season, you find out that there's these things called the Burned Ones that are on the edge of this mystical barrier that surrounds this school, and they're keeping all the Burned Ones away. That's essentially the purpose of this barrier.
Yeah.
And then, though one burned one has been rare for quite some time, they start having an influx of them. They find out that one burned one is traveling as a pair now. So now there's two of them apparently, which they said is hardly ever happens. And then one insane fucking part was when the one chick got mauled and her cell phone was broadcasting the live feed, and they all saw like literally like a pack of like 6 of these things running together, which was just outright unheard of at this point. So dealing with the burned ones, so that's where the specialists come in. So we find out later on that essentially a specialist and a fairy become a team. So the specialists, their job is to fend off the burned ones and to keep the burned ones, I guess, distracted or just away from the fairy. Whilst the fairy, their job is to essentially find a way to kill the burned ones while being fended off by the specialist. That's the whole point of the specialist-fairy relationship. So you can guess later on in the show, Sky and Bloom are matched together. But then we find out, like, what's the fucking teacher's name that's the specialist dude again?
Mr. Silva.
Silva. We find out that Silva kind of told Sky to get close to Bloom to gain her trust and figure out some things. And then, like, Bloom doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know her parents. She was called something. She was called a changeling near the beginning of the show, which a changeling is essentially when a fairy swoops in. Oh, you already said it?
I already explained that, yeah.
All right.
Unless that was muted, but unless I was like cut out, but I explained that already.
That probably was when I was trying to dig up this Winx Club cartoon bullshit. So Sky, she's a changeling, and she just wants answers, which is understandable. And nobody is giving her answers. Everybody's being very dodgy about certain things, so she takes it upon herself to go find her own. And then Beatrix kind of like gives her, at the time, I guess the largest carrot on a stick. So she just kind of follows Beatrix. And what Beatrix said kind of makes sense, but then she realizes that the fucking school, the teachers and the headmistress are lying to her, or have lied to her, and like this whole show's like everybody's lying to everybody. It's hard to keep up with, honestly. Ultimately, what it boils down to is everybody in the Winx dorm, I guess is what their little room is called, where like all of the roommates of Bloom ultimately are good people. Takes a little while to get you there with some of them. Mainly the roller coaster here is Stella starts off as a bitch. She kind of warms up to everybody at some point.
Musa too is kind of a bitch at first.
Who?
Musa, the mind fairy.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she's literally hearing and feeling everybody's thoughts.
I know, which you find out later, but she comes off as a bitch at first because she's like.
Aisha starts off really nice, and then does some really downright shitty things, but then feels bad about it, and eventually ends up like atoning for that and making up for things. I don't know. They're all good guys. The fucking faculty now. Like, listen. You should have been honest with the students to begin with. Like, and I get not as an adult, okay, being put into a position of authority or power, all right? Or in the case of what's his name, Harvey, Professor Harvey, wanting to protect his kids, okay? But the thing is kids are gonna know when you lie to them, okay? They all kids will have a sense of this eventually, especially when they get older. They're not. I was a kid once, okay? And anytime my parents withheld stuff from me, one way or the other, I knew. I was not an idiot, okay? But the thing is a lot of kids, if you withhold or if you lie, they're going to hold that against you. They're never going to trust you again. And I think that's really where the headmistress went wrong.
Yeah.
But she even made up for it. And I think Bloom kind of realized towards the end why she did it, and this, that, and the other thing. Like, even like like the last episode or the second to last episode or whatever, Bloom's like, I've been an asshole. Like, I've been a butthead like the whole time. I will say that was probably one of my favorite interactions was when Bloom was like, so can we... And she just kind of like holds her arms out, like, do you hug? And the headmistress looks so awkward at that.
Yeah, and then what she says too about, she's like, when I took over the school, I had to make a decision to be a figurehead or blah, blah, blah. And she's like, and the one I chose, she's like, although I feel it was right for the school, it means that people you care about will have to ask you if you hug.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I already said that there was going to be spoilers. So, long story short, I feel like the faculty are the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
Rosalind's the bad guy.
So is fucking Beatrix.
So is Beatrix. And then by extension through Beatrix, I think the other two specialists are, right now, sided with the bad guys.
Riven and Dane, you mean?
Yeah. And then fucking I guess the queen is a bad bitch. I just don't know. And then Sky's dad's alive, which I just don't understand things.
Well, I said if I were Sky, I would be super pissed because one, and then he has the other one, the Silva guy that's been raising him as his dad, arrested for his attempted murder. It's like, so you pretended you were dead, left me alone with the guy that you say tried to murder you, and then you pretended you were dead all this time so that you could raise someone else, which is Beatrix, by the way.
Now,
I would be like, fuck you, Dad.
now
Fuck
let me ask you this. So Silva, I wouldn't even necessarily call what he did attempted murder. It was legitimately self-defense because what's Sky's dad's name? Starts with an A.
Andreas.
Andreas drew his sword first. He literally instigated this fight.
Yeah. Well, that's what Andres' whole thing was. No, it's our orders. And he was like, fuck. And Sybil was like, fuck that. There's innocent people. I have to warn them because they don't know that they're going to do this. And Andreas was like, nope, I can't let you. So it kind of depends on what you, because technically Andreas was trying to follow orders and Silva was trying to follow be more moral.
Right.
So you could look at it as attempted murder under the law, I suppose. That's probably what they're going with.
Yeah, I don't know. And then now the question is, was the Queen privy to this whole thing beforehand? So this whole thing started because the Rosalind chick decided to fucking firebomb a town.
I mean, according to Stella, her mom's a freaking bitch. So I would tend to lean towards that. She ran away from home twice just to get away from her mom. So,
that's all I gotta say is So yeah, I mean, Donnie's not here. He's in the chat, but he's not here. And I know Donnie did not care for the show. He didn't get into being able to explain to us why. I didn't mind the show. I thought it was entertaining. Again, I think the story writing was good enough that it left you never knowing who the fuck was good and who the fuck was bad until they actually outright revealed themselves. Like they had me second guessing characters that had good intentions the whole time. Like the headmistress. Me and Rob were sitting in the living room watching this. I'm like, oh, the fucking teachers are evil. These fucking assholes. They're the bad guys. Oh no, now this Rosalind here, she's saying something else. They're the bad guys. The teachers are good guys again. I don't understand what's happening right now. So, as far as like if and when a second, I told Rob jokingly that they're not going to make a second season of this, so we're never going to know what's happening now. But if and when they do make a second season of this, I will watch it, but I don't necessarily know that it's like on my list of like, oh, I'm going to binge watch all of this the second it comes out because I need to know what happens, sort of thing. I don't feel like it hit me as that type of show. So, what about you?
I mean, I would probably watch it if it comes out, unless there's something more interesting I'm currently watching. But if not, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it.
So it's not like one of your favorite shows now that you've seen it?
No.
Now, let me ask you this, because there are shows. Would you watch this show again?
Like watch it over again? Maybe.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't where I was like, oh, I don't ever want to watch this again. I mean, I wouldn't watch it right now. We just saw it, but maybe down the road, yeah.
See, I don't know. Like, I think the only way I would watch season 1 again is, like, if I knew season 2 was coming out, say, on Friday, I would probably binge watch the first season again on Wednesday and Thursday. to refresh myself for season 2, but it's not a show that I think I would put on again to rewatch for entertainment value. Like I don't know, like I have my list of shows that I can just watch over and over and over again. Like they just don't get boring to me. I don't feel like this is one of them for me. I don't know. Well, that's. Do you have anything else that you want to bring up about this? I don't even know if we didn't touch upon anything. Rosalind's a bad guy. Yep. She did bad things and bad people. The burned ones the whole fucking time were all after Bloom.
Yep. That's why they showed back up, because she came out of the human world.
Yeah.
So that's why they were reappearing to get at her.
And then Rosalind dropped the barrier around the school, and the school got flooded with burned ones. And they all chased, and they left all the other students, well, with the exception of Sam, who got caught. But they walked right past some of the other students and chased down where Bloom had gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then they chased her out into a field, and Bloom fucking went all full fire fairy on their asses, like got their wings and everything, which apparently have gone extinct through fairies over the ages. Like fairies just don't have wings anymore, apparently. But not Bloom. Bloom's different. She's special. She's that special fairy snowflake. And she like flew up in the air, and she like, not only did she kill the burned ones, she annihilated the cores inside of them and turned them back into who they were as humans.
Whatever. Yeah.
Which, even if they were still fanatics or whatever, just being able to do that. Do you think she's going to eventually be able to control her power to the point where she can turn the burnt ones back into human without killing them?
I don't know. Maybe.
I know that's a pretty big trope when you have things that are like changed over time, being able to change them back without actually killing them. So, like, I know in Supernatural that was an arc that they did where they would try to exorcise the demon out of the people so they could save the people that the demons were possessing.
Yeah.
And then the second one of the demons was just like, hey, guess what? And then they just start stabbing themselves over and over again. They're like, well, I guess this whole plan is just stupid because the demons are just going to off the hosts anyway. And then they stopped doing it. So, but yeah, do you have anything else that you'd want to say about the Winx Saga? I got nothing. I mean, honestly, we would have more, but again, this was only fucking 6 episodes, which really kind of baffled me because even Netflix shows generally are like 10. Mm-hmm. So I feel gypped out of 4 episodes of this show.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, not really.
With the exception of the Sherlock show from BBC with Benedict Cumberbatch. The Sherlock seasons are only 3 episodes long, but they're like 2 hours a fucking episode.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's like watching small movies. So.
Yeah. I mean, because it was so short, you didn't really get to know a lot of the cast.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the characters, like, I don't know. Like, you don't, like, Aisha, for one, you don't really know what drives her. Like, they showed one thing where she was struggling to control the water magic in one class, and then that was like kind of it you saw about like her motivations and stuff. Mostly it was her like reacting to what Bloom was doing. Like, so you never really got to. In Musa, you only at the end you found out about how she felt her mom die inside her brain. That was the very last episode. Like, a lot of them you didn't really get into their motivations or who they were, even though they were the main characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully we get more into that in season 2, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely find the most out about Bloom. I would even argue that you get more of a dive into Stella's background than you do the other girls. Because you actually at least get to meet their mom. I mean, what's the plant girl's name again?
Tara.
We meet her father. Her father's the botanist teacher, but
And her brother.
But I mean, we don't know anything about her mother. She never talked about her. We never got to see her.
That's true. Like Sky too, he's got the adopted dad, and his real dad comes back. You never hear anything about his mom. Yeah. It's like, oh, is she alive?
Right. So I don't even think that got brought up. You know.
Yeah. And like Riven's always talking about how the school is fucked and whatever, and his life was terrible, but you never find out why or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Donnie has swayed me. I kind of don't care for this show now. They spent too much time writing this yo-yo back and forth story of making me care and then hate the characters that I don't even know enough about the characters to hate them or to like them.
Yeah.
So, you've convinced me. All of you have convinced me.
Yeah, and like I said, they don't even explain what the specialists are. Like, are they fairies? Are they humans? Are they what? Like, why did they not have magic compared to the other fairies if they're fairies? I don't understand.
I'm guessing that they're just regular ass people from these other worlds that exist. But that's just a guess.
Yeah.
Maybe they feel like we didn't need to. Well, I mean, that's a dumb excuse too. I was going to say maybe they feel like they didn't need to deep dive the characters' backstories because there was 5 years of cartoons for them. But like people like me, at least, I never watched fucking cartoons, so I don't know any of these characters.
No, I didn't watch the cartoon either, or read the comic book before that. So like, I don't know either. But like I said, I don't. Because at first I thought maybe it was just a difference, like the boy fairies didn't have magic and only the girls did. But then they clearly showed boy fairies using magic, like Sam and that fire kid that was sealing the door shut with his fire.
Yep.
So obviously that's not the thing.
And then it leads you to believe too, like Professor Harvey. Does he have powers? Because he uses botanist potions and stuff.
He must, but the only reason that I realized that is because it showed him and the headmistress and what's-her-face combining their magic to firebomb the city. Like, he was one of the ones that was using magic.
Right, but we never see him. Maybe he just never used magic since that day. Like, maybe he's in, like, a self-imposed exile of magic. Although, he did use magic to seal the door shut,
Oh, that's right. I remember she used that against him, too.
So he
Why
just
didn't
uses
you bring him right away? You locked us in our room, Dad. Remember?
Yeah. So he just uses dad magic. Like we get the adverse dad reactions. So like he's a dad obviously without a wife, so he just seals his kids in rooms with doors. And then Bloom's parents, the dad was taking Bloom's door off the wall because her mom was telling him to.
Yeah.
So the dads really got the shaft in this. You got one dad who doesn't have a wife who has to seal their kids into rooms. One dad who has a wife who is a little bitch and has to take the door off his kid's room. And then the other dad dies and then comes back.
And then arrests the acting dad.
Yeah. Wow. The Fate the Winx Saga, not a show to be a dad in. I'm saying that right now, calling it out. So, well, all right. I mean, this is gonna be a shorter SU because guess what? 6 fucking episodes to a Netflix show. It was a short season. I ain't got nothing else to talk about this goddamn show. I'm not happy about it now. Now that I know Now that I realize I don't know jack shit about any of these characters.
Yep.
And I'm never going to find out about the headmistress's stuff.
Nope. Because she did.
Just when I warmed up to her, man. Yeah, even though we spoiler alerted, Rosalind snapped her neck like a twig. I did not see that coming, though.
Me neither.
I was just like, oh, shit. Okay.
It's like, I am not leaving my school. Oh, I figured that. And you can stay. Crack. Right here. Buried in the ground.
You're now part of the flower garden. All right, Rob. So we need a Getting Real with Rob.
Alcohol hurts.
True story. Yesterday was St. Patty's Day. We went out. We had lunch with my mom, and we drank all afternoon and played some video games. And then Rob hated himself late last night and early this morning. And everybody asked me, people were checking in on me. They're like, "Are you alive today?" It's like, man, this is not my first rodeo. I don't even have a hangover. I feel fine. Just a little tired, but that's because my sleep got broken up into like small increments of sleep throughout the night. But other than that, I feel fantastic.
I did read an article about the Aumaua.
The Amuamua?
Amuamua?
What is this? What language are you talking?
It's Hawaiian.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, it's spelled Oumuamua. Uamuamua.
Type that in Discord. You're obviously not pronouncing it right.
I'm sure I'm not.
Once I see a word, we all know I can perfectly pronounce any word as long as I see it. He's typing it currently. Don't know why he didn't just copy and paste. Yeah, Umamua. Yeah, you got it right, man.
Anyway, so that was the weird thing that passed through the solar system that everybody thought might be like an alien probe. But they finally figured out that it does come from outside the solar system. So in that way, it's extraterrestrial. Well, I mean, extraterrestrial means off of the planet, but it's outside of our solar system. But people, because of the way it acted and how it like accelerated when it got close to the sun and stuff, they thought it was a comet, but didn't act like a regular comet. So people were beginning to think maybe it was like an alien probe or something like that. But they figured out that it was a piece of the planet that got broken off. And it was mostly like, because most comets in our solar system are ice crystals, are like water or hydrogen. So when it gets close to the sun, the ice melts, and that's what causes it to accelerate. The reason why this accelerated faster because its ice crystals were made from frozen nitrogen instead of anything else. So that's why it accelerated much faster, because nitrogen propelled it way faster. So they figured out it's just basically like a comet, a flat comet that got broken off an extrasolar planet and came flying through.
When the fuck did all this happen?
A couple of years ago. I think it was, let me see. But they only just figured it out recently. 2017 was when it came by.
All right. I don't remember anything about this.
Yeah, they finally figured out what was causing it to act so strange. Not an alien probe, unfortunately, just a strange comet.
So, Rob, I think I've asked you this question before, but I'm going to revisit it in case you have a different answer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because I don't remember your answer the first time. And
Okay.
yes, I know that it's not cost efficient, but is there a way, could we send our trash into orbit and then essentially slingshot it into the sun? And if so, what do you feel would be like the most cost-effective way to do that? And would it have any adverse effects? And is it just, no matter how you look at it, not worth the cost of just burying the trash like they do now?
Yes to all of it. It's not going to have any adverse effect on the sun, if that's what you're asking. And yeah, it could be done, but like you said, it's not cost effective. The amount of fuel burned just to launch things into the sun would cause as much pollution as it does right now. So future technology, it could definitely be a solution, but not feasible right now.
So you think just burying it and burning it like the way that they do now is the best course of action?
I mean, probably are better ways to take care of it, like recycling. But yeah, I mean, for now, it's the best we can do. I mean, they do have like garbage incinerators that that produce energy. So at least even if you have to burn it, all the stuff isn't just wasted. But those cause a lot of pollution too. So, but yeah, I mean, someday in the future, launching it into the sun might be the best thing to do. You know, there's giant freaking garbage islands out in the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans
Now,
that are just building.
why could we not? And this is probably it's going to be a pollution aspect. I do agree with this because it's not going to be any different than essentially incinerating it in a machine. I feel, but why not why not gather up large masses or large quantities of this trash and drop it in a volcano?
Because that would kill lots of people. Because like the control, like the reason why there's like big garbage patches is because some of it is not burnable. Like the air pollution would be deadly. So if you dropped a bunch of that stuff in a volcano and the volcano spread it out and burning it into the air over a large area, people are just gonna get cancer and die.
Okay, well, that solves that question.
Yeah.
See, I'm not a scientific person. I just I feel
although,
like I feel
burning
like
takes care of the.
I feel like we could essentially we have the technology and the capability of essentially melting down anything and burning pretty much anything that we would want to, but it's a matter of do we have the technology to contain the pollutants from that?
We don't. That's the problem. So a lot of it, like burning the physical garbage, like plastics and styrofoams and stuff like that, that'll take care of the physical, but the air pollution is much worse. So it's actually less harmful to leave it as a solid mass wherever it lies. Like it's less harmful to everything, like the water, the air, and stuff like that. Until our technology improves enough. That's why a lot of it, like plastics and stuff, get recycled if they can.
Okay,
because...
another question. I'm sure we're gonna get hate mail from fucking like, I don't know, wildlife associations or some bullshit now. Okay, so hear me out. What if we go the opposite route? What if we like take a bunch of the garbage, especially the things that are like would be not good to burn, right? Like your styrofoams, your plastics, right?
I'm back. I couldn't hear any of that. I heard you talking out like through the door, and I'm like, she's not saying you got Discord.
Yeah, I don't know what Discord is. Anyway, so what if we took the things that are not okay to burn? Like we try to we do our best to separate it. Obviously, not everything's going to get separated perfectly, but we do our best to separate it to whatever can be burned. We melt down, we burn.
Yeah, they already do that.
Now the things that we can't burn, so like your styrofoams and your plastics, okay. We crush and we crush and we crush and we try to condense it into as tight and compacted cubes as possible. Okay, and then we put them in containers like a steel or some sort of like heavy duty rust proof container. And then we sink that shit into like the Marianas Trench, like the deepest parts of the ocean that we haven't even explored yet. Just drop it right into the ocean. Would that not be feasible?
They already dump garbage in the ocean. Did I not
but
mention the islands?
but they're dumping garbage the wrong way. Like they're leaving it just floating on the surface. I'm talking about like compacting it, putting in something that will literally sink to the ocean floor.
Yeah, but it's metal. It's just gonna rust over time and release everything that's inside eventually.
No, I mean that's the thing is you would get are you telling me that we don't have the technology to make to put something into a rust-proof container that would not be slowly eroded over that long of a time?
Yes.
I think we
metal would rust a lot faster than any kind of plastic that would break down in the ocean. And also, plastic does break down in the ocean eventually, which is one of the problems that they're having now, is that all the garbage that's in the ocean is breaking down because the sun and salt water does actually kind of break down plastic into microscopic bits. And now those microscopic bits are being eaten by fish and crabs and making fish life dangerous for people to eat because they eat all these microscopic plastic parts. We catch the fish, we cook them and eat them. Then we get all those microscopic plastic parts inside us, and it's causing problems.
Concrete blocks.
Listen, I am not a garbage expert, Webby. I don't know that you could. I don't know. Why don't we ask? We'll ask a scientist, okay? Why can't we sink garbage to the bottom of the ocean?
Oh, hey, you heard it here, folks. Rob gave himself homework. He's going to have to try to contact some sort of scientist now, and he's going to have answers for us on SU in the upcoming weeks.
Between you and your mom giving me homework, I don't like this anymore. No more science corner with Rob.
No, you can't just start something and then walk away from it.
I sure can. People do it all the time.
No. You're not a quitter, Rob. Okay? I know you. You're not a quitter. The people want these answers, and you're going to give them to them.
Fine, but we don't have a thing with Devin, so you have to do it. Because he's not here.
Life
advice.
Sure. I can do that. Yesterday was St. Patty's Day. I'll give you all a small St. Patty's Day blessing. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures, and may all life's passing seasons bring the best to you and yours.
Very nice.
So there you go.
I will also give you an Irish blessing.
As you slide down the banister of life, make sure all the splinters are facing the right way.
Was that me? I don't think that was my voice.
No, that was me. Rob is so drunk. He does not understand how voices work.
Enemies, may God turn their hearts. And if he cannot turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles, so you will know them by their limping.
Well, all right. There we go. We had several life advices and Irish blessings on the week of St. Patty's Day. So with that being said, Rob, where can people find you on the internet if they want to send hate mail? Probably about me.
They can find me on Twitter at Confessor_Etch.
Etch. Nice.
Confessor_Etch.
Wow, Rob.
And
no more drinking for Rob.
Soon on Twitch. Actually, pretty soon, because I can actually stream again now on twitch.tv/ConfessorX.
If he can figure out how to actually start a stream. Because right now he's having problems with words.
Words are hard.
And as always, everybody, you guys can follow me on Twitter at JaxForestWalker, all one word, on Twitch at DMWebby, and on Instagram at Patrick.Webster52, where I post weird, random shit, mostly D&D memes. And thank you all for listening. We love it, all of you. Stay safe. And remember, fuck Booster Gold.
Fuck Booster Gold.
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da.
It was Agatha all along.
I've been a kid once. Da-da-da-da.